I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Well, we've done it. Here we are, the final frontier, at least for season 1 of Star Trek Picard. Very excited to be here on the Star Trek Picard after show. We've got the whole team assembled, the Untouchables, if you will. The Dirty Dozen, except of course we're all very clean these days. I'm Christian Bladt, and in case you think that Flobo and I have lost our minds, it was supposed to be opening day in Major League Baseball today, and we didn't get the memo. Flobo, great to see you.
Great to see you too, Christian, man. I am excited to be here for the finale of Picard, but after today's episode, I want Star Trek Riker, dang it.
You know, you're not wrong. Although still holding out for the weekly Ensign Row series is the one and only Frank Moran.
Oh, hi, everybody.
We can actually see you this week. It's very exciting.
It's a letdown in all fashions.
And somebody that we can also see this week, the lovely Nikki Bailey.
Hi, everybody. I missed you all last week. I screamed and nobody was there to hear it.
Yeah, we guessed some moments where you would have screamed.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just ask right off the bat, Nikki. A lot of tears this week.
You know what? I was surprisingly stoic, and I think it's because I've been crying every day about other stuff. So, so I was really calm. Although I watched this episode with my partner, we had to pause so that she could like snort and snuffle, and like she was very emotional. Yeah.
Yeah, that I also do the Curb Your Enthusiasm after show with Flobo. That's how he was for the Curb finale.
Yeah.
He was snorting and snuffling the whole time.
Spite stores.
Flobo, your overall thoughts on this episode?
Well, you know what? They ended the best way they could, giving the building blocks they had in the episodes before it. Ultimately, I do recommend the show. It's a nice ride, but, decompression is what ultimately kills Picard's punch. I did mean that in the intro. I was really engaged with Riker and how he employed himself and how he put himself in the whole mission of things. But, overall, it was a good yarn, and I'm willing to see what season 2 brings.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand all of that. I think the way that it ended, and obviously we'll go through it. I was like, oh, do I really need any more after this? I feel like they put a nice little button on the end and tied it up all nice and neat. What did you think, Frank Moran?
I mean, they X-Men: The Last Stand with Picard. So for right there, I'm already like, great.
Yeah,
it was.
At first they when we actually get to see him die, I'm like, wait, in the same 2-3 year period, I got to see Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier die, Patrick Stewart as Jean-Luc Picard die. I'm like, I don't need it. But then it was like death with an asterisk. It was like, yeah, he's dead, but not really. But we're definitely getting ahead of ourselves. So let's dive into Et and Arcadia. And I said ego last week, and Rachel was like all Latin and corrected me, and I still don't know how to say it. But part 2, episode 10 of Star Trek Picard. I'm going to say that my biggest surprise for this episode is that at the end of the episode, Narek was still alive. I mean, because he was, right? I didn't miss him getting killed, did I?
I mean, we missed everything about him. Who knows what happened to him at the end of the episode?
We don't know.
He got hauled off, and who knows?
Yeah, creepy sister getting thrown down the mine shaft or whatever you want to call that in the Borg cube. I'm like, yeah, that was coming. The only surprise there was that he didn't do it. Nikki, give us your thoughts on our just completely unlikable, gross, creepy Romulan sibling couple.
Okay, so I'm glad that she got killed, obviously.
Nice.
I mean, it was like enough of her already.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like my feelings about Narek have changed a little bit. Not entirely, but
Yikes.
I feel like maybe he really did fall in love a little bit. And maybe maybe he wasn't evil. I think maybe I'm channeling Rachel right now, because you know how Rachel's all compassionate and everything.
It's true.
Maybe that's what's happening, but I don't know. I started to like him a little bit.
Oh, that's I don't know. Maybe it's just maybe I just see so much of myself in him that I know what an awful, reprehensible person he is.
That's terrible.
There's no sincerity there. Although what I will say is that he did the right thing, and he's like, yeah, we should really work together to stop this thing. I mean, there's that one moment, but at the same time, it's just like, yeah, but you've still, if you hadn't done what you did, we wouldn't really be here right now. What did you think, Flobo, for their story arc?
Narek is one of those the threads here in the show that I'm not particularly a fan of. I just felt like he was kind of just used, whether he wants to be the villain guy, but now he's like the unlikely alliance person. I didn't quite buy that this episode. The turn was a bit too fast for me, but I will say this: it does add some depth to the character, and he actually had a little bit of a story development, character development as well. So I guess I can't complain. But as far as pure entertainment value, it's like, oh, here comes Narek again, was my gut reaction.
I don't know, Frank. They're such unlikable characters. I feel like you must have adored them.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's how I greet all my siblings, is I sneak up behind them and put a knife to their throat.
Wow.
And then give them a big hug.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. If these you have Commander O, which we didn't see too much of, but for our lack of other villains, the siblings were our big bads, so to speak. And the fact that we didn't drill deep on really either of them to make us at least care about them even in the slightest, I felt like it was disappointing for the show. There was too much. I agree with Flobo. It's decompressed storytelling, but man, they didn't spend it wisely. What they decided to decompress wasn't put in best service of the story. So by the end of it, we get her asking if he effed a bunch of synths while he was over there, and then a really lackluster fight at the end with 7 of 9. So like, even when she died, I was like, okay. I really felt nothing about her death at all either.
I did enjoy that exchange actually when she. I guess we're keeping the language PG-13 even if the show doesn't. Yeah. Did
I say something about that, Christian? I don't want to get in there, but look, I am no prude, but the adult language is so infrequent, it always throws me off. It's like, oh wait, it's cable.
Yeah,
right.
we've talked a lot about it, and going back to season 1 of Star Trek Discovery, when it's used, it's just so jarring and it takes you out of it, and it's just like it's never used in the way it's well. And I do always go back to Star Trek 4 where Spock is trying to, sort of get back into reacquainted with human society. So he's using colorful metaphors. They're used as comedy. It's fine. But here it's just like, nobody needs to use any of those words. Come on, guys. This is Star Trek. And do you just want me to, never like, I was like, oh, I can't watch this with my kid until he's like in his 20s because that language is just too much. It makes me too uncomfortable. That being said, it was a pretty funny line though. When he asks if you've effed any of them, and he says not yet. Have you killed any? And he says just one, and she calls that progress. I was like, all right, that was at least mildly entertaining. But you're right. I don't know. Nikki, are Flobo and I just old men who are a little too uptight with the language, or do you feel like it worked, or are we on point with this?
You are 100% on point. I 100% agree. I hadn't even thought of it from the perspective of like family viewing. I just as a Trek fan am just like, oh, don't like we don't do that. Like that's not like it's just not. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, Star Trek was always something that we watched as a family, I mean, we'd go to the movies and the reruns of the TV show, and when Next Generation started, so it's like you can think of it that way. I don't know, it's almost like there needs to, on CBS All Access, you can get the Twilight Zone episodes the way that they were shown, or you can watch them in black and white, so the way the original series was. So it's almost like, can you give me like the PG version as like an option on this show? Because I don't know. It just bothers me. And
Can I say
we're
this
pro-
though? Like, if
Go
there was
ahead.
like if Section 31 had like we're a hard R kind of show, I think it'd be fine. Like, I'm all about the consistency of it all.
Yeah.
You bring
No,
your
that would be
kid
fine.
into it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think if it was like also like an ultra violent show where, you know, if for some reason they decided to tell the Picard story as Deadwood in space, I'd be like, okay, that's the choice they made. That's fine. But in general, I don't know.
I mean, there's something about like the Battlestar Galactica, which I thought where they made their own
Yeah.
swear
Yeah.
words. Where I mean, in that sense, it adds a sense of timelessness to the show. I mean, I feel like hearing the F-bomb dropped in
Yeah.
the 25th century now, it just seems so like, really, are we still going to be saying that then? I guess.
You would
Yeah.
wonder, yeah, maybe they evolved a little bit beyond the
Yeah.
colorful metaphors and mother frackers and whatnot. You know, I
Yeah.
agree. So let's talk about you know, some of the Deus Ex Machina moments, the very specific, the device that can kind of do magic on starships.
Ooh.
I was just like, wasn't there a better way to do this? Like, I don't know. I didn't like it. You can fix the ship. You can make some Xeroxes of the ship. Nikki Bailey, I saw you shake your head on this. Did that bother you?
Oh my God. Okay, so like the thing when you have a Trek versus Wars argument, one of the things that Trek fans always say is that we have like science on our side, right? Like it's not the magic of the Force. What was that? Was that magic? Like he thought about it and stuff got unfissioned or whatever. It was
You need to be careful, Nikki, because you're proving my reason why I never liked Q. Because Q is magic, and you don't have magic in Star Trek.
okay, but Q was charming magic, and that was acceptable.
It was sexy magic, Christian.
He wasn't sexy. He was charming, and so
Yeah,
I
I
made
mean,
allowances for that.
Especially not in that hat in the pilot.
Okay, well.
Well.
All right.
But by the other token, something as they always say, if it's so scientifically advanced, it appears to be magic. That doesn't mean I like the device. The device was, I mean, because why write your story where you need a device like that? You don't need to make it.
I hate when your plot device is a literal device. You know, it's like, oh, we have this magic thingamabob, and it's like, no, they didn't call it that, but you might as well have. No. And I don't know. I mean, I needed more of a payoff with that if they were going to do that. You know, and
yeah, me too. I felt like maybe if they're gonna have a magic device, she should imagine the Enterprise. Like I was like, oh, this is great. If she can just, you know, woo things with this little knuckle thing, then let's bring an Enterprise in. Like that, I really thought that was gonna be how we got to see the Enterprise, and didn't. Are we going to talk about that, Christian? Are we going to talk about that?
When we get to the point that you mean that we got every ship in Starfleet except the Enterprise, I just wanted to know what letter we were up to. They didn't even need to show me the bridge. I just wanted to see what letter we were up to.
And they're
it's
saying
G or
that
H at this point.
now the flagship of the Federation is the Zheng He, and yeah. I'm like rude.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, it's like, well, hasn't it always been the Enterprise? You know, I mean, yeah, except for maybe the Enterprise B, but yeah, no, but we're getting a little in the weeds there. Let's you know,
can I just chime in about the plot device here?
Please. I'm sorry. I forgot that I didn't ask you. That's my mistake. Go ahead.
As a fan of now, I guess, Star Trek, and as a fan of Green Lantern and the comic book crossover where Green Lantern and Star Trek, the original series combined.
I love that comic, by the way.
It's amazing. Part 1 is better than part 2, but I love it. Yeah. I was willing to ride with the idea of having a device that worked with your imagination to an extent. Like when it repaired the thing in the ship, I was like, okay. But then was actually used as like the winning device for the big battle. I thought that was insanely cheap. I think here's you have a device, you have an idea. There has to be some kind of limitations, or else it's effing magic, is it not? I can say effing now because he did it in the show.
And also, Agnes wasn't there in the moment when they saw that it worked by imagination. So she just happened to know that's what it did.
Go ahead, Flobo. Sorry, Frank.
If there'd been something like even as simple as a neural interface, because it felt like weird for me that it doesn't patch into your mind at all. It has no connection to your brain. It's just in your hand, and I couldn't grasp how what you thought was supposed to transmit through your fingertips into this device. It seemed weird to me, unless it has Wi-Fi for your brain.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, and I don't know, put a line of dialogue in there, explain that in some way, but or maybe it's in some way connected to the spore drive that everyone's forgotten about from 80 years earlier. But
yeah,
that's true. I do like that this colony of synths gives you a device that can do all these incredible things. But they go, you'll figure it out. Like, just tell me. Just tell me, guys.
Yeah, it's like IKEA furniture. It's like there's an instruction manual, but don't bother. Just dump everything out and put it on the floor. Flobo, you were always our talk about your ride or dies. You have been hashtag Team Raffi from the beginning.
Hey!
And I have never wanted to pummel a character in the face more than when she kept saying, JL, come in. JL, come in. Would you stop with the JL? It's like
continuity,
she
bro.
knows that we hate it. No, but then she's like, Admiral Jean-Luc Picard. I'm like, yes, you show him the respect. What did you think of Raffi's arc in this episode? This season, really?
Well, we'll probably get to that a little bit later with the ending scenes or whatever. But the thing about Raffi, what I really enjoyed is that she was the only person that was presented as a character that saw Picard in a naturalistic point of view. Everyone else knew the legend of Picard. Everyone knew how great he was and how he's this guy that had that really bad day on Mars 14 years ago. So I was on board because she really introduced this new Picard for someone like me who just binge watched The Next Generation and go, hey, that guy doesn't act like that guy at all. Raffi, help me out. Now, with that said, the JL is a little bit heavy. I think because she knows that pisses you off. But I wouldn't.
Yeah, I agree. That's why she does it.
Give her a chance. I love her.
I had someone say to me that they liked Raffi because she's so imperfect, and we're so used to having Star Trek characters who are so virtuous, and our good guys are always so virtuous. They like that she was imperfect in so many ways.
Well, she was definitely imperfect, and kind of a distraction throughout the season. I think that the only person who cared less about her son and the expected grandchild on the way was Raffi prior to that moment where she was trying to make him part of her life again.
You know what, Christian, the shade, man. What does Raffi have to do to somehow redeem herself? Here's a character that's been to the ringer, was down with Picard, even though she had a bit of a backstory with her. She's willing to serve. I mean, isn't that not what we want? Valor, loyalty, willing to serve. Isn't that what the tenet of Starfleet was?
I needed her to take a phaser blast that was intended for Jean-Luc. Then she would have redeemed herself. Or, by the way, intended for Rios or 7 of 9.
Just any phaser blast of any kind.
Everyone except Agnes.
That is messed up.
Then that's a push.
Messed up.
If they had both gotten sucked at the airlock in the episode, I would have been like, oh, finally. Now I'm excited for season 2.
I feel like a failure with the show is that last episode we were talking about how JL, your boy JL, and
JL.
They have that scene where she says, I love you. And he says, okay, I love you as well. It doesn't land because we haven't seen enough of them and any of their dynamic to really appreciate that. I mean, at the beginning of the season, she was so antagonistic towards him and was a reluctant passenger for the first part of it until everything fell apart with her son and soon-to-be grandson. And then she started getting a little bit more involved, but it held no weight to me. When you see Data and Picard at the end of the episode expressing their emotions towards each other, that lands because we've got these characters that we've seen throughout this time, and that really hits home. So I felt like the writers did not develop that relationship enough for me to actually buy that these two have like some deep, abiding, friendly love for each other.
Yeah, no. I mean, it was more of like a comedic moment than, it was supposed to be a comedic moment that sort of masked a really heartfelt one, but it was really just the comedy part of it that I don't know, that I connected with. So Narek works together with our team, which is really atypical with the character, but I think even he figures like, yeah, I don't think that gold version of Soji should have really let me out. What's her end game here? So I think that we see some interesting things that happen. I guess
one thing
Go
for
ahead.
that, Christian, because as we're saying, he goes to the Borg cube. That's where, of course, he meets his sister. But it seemed weird to me because I felt like at the end of the previous episode, when she was fighting, it seemed like she had teleported off because they cut to her getting overwhelmed, teleporting out, cutting to the Romulan ships leaving to find out, no, she really didn't teleport there. She teleported within the cube. So that seemed very weird to me. So I was like, okay, sure. It seemed weird.
No, I agree.
I thought she was dead. I thought, hey, she'd just been attacked by a whole bunch of XPs. She was either dead or she was gonna show up with the Armada. But yeah, I agree. That was weird.
Yeah, no, that was very weird, and I know it's hard to actually reconcile because I'm just like, wait, I remember thinking that when I was watching it last night at whatever it was, 12:01 in the morning. I was like, wait, what? What is she doing there? So let's talk about some of the interesting things. Did you ever expect when the season started that you would see Agnes take out someone's eye so she could open a door? Frank, you probably pegged her for that, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, heck yeah. I mean, if you pull up my bullet points for all my character points,
that's true, for
everybody's arcs this season, pulling out robot eyes was right there at the top. Yeah, I mean, she was overwhelmed, and now she's really getting into the spy game. So, okay, sure. Again, another underdeveloped character.
Yeah, Flobo, can we talk about something since we're talking about Agnes now? Apparently, murder is forgivable now, and they like kind of like they I don't know. It's almost like they made her write 500 times on the blackboard, "I will not murder," and then she was everybody's best friend again. And ew, Rio, stop! Ugh, you could do better.
Yeah,
so
in space.
Better.
We're talking about characters that we don't appreciate. I've had the toughest time with Girardi because we don't really know, as far as the script writing point of view, what kind of archetype is she? Is she the helpful guide? Is she the tech person? Is she the person that makes everyone okay? Is she the calming presence? We've seen her going from being the innocent person to being the sex pot to being the person okay with being murdered, the person putting her hands in someone's eye socket. To me, and the co-pilot too, there's a lot of different things happening there, which I couldn't tell you how I felt about her either way. When it comes all down to it, I mean, that's what you get. But for me, I thought it was all inconsistent across the board. And I was upset. Everyone's like, yeah, Bruce Maddox. Well.
Yeah, it's like, he shouldn't have got himself killed. All right, let's go. Nikki, what did you think about some of these inconsistencies with Agnes Girardi?
I really hoped that when Agnes was asked if she was willing to be the mother of these synths, I hoped that meant that I hoped that she was lying. Like, I was like, maybe she's going to find a way to redeem herself. So I'm glad that she did. I'm getting a little confused with her right now, though, because she's also now on this series Devs. Alison Pill is on this new series Devs on FX. And in my brain, I have made her they're the same character. And so when she took the thing out of her eye and used the eye, I was like, that seems pretty on point. But then I realized that was from the other show. So I don't know, is what I'm saying. I don't know.
I just feel like there's characters like Elnor, for example, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but you know exactly what he stands for, what his moral code is, even on the script stage. But Girardi goes from being like the loyal sidekick to being the assassin to being the person that's willing to to head up Rios. I just feel like it's so wide. She fits anything you want to. And it's kind of unfair she gets compared to Tilly because Tilly on Star Trek Discovery is consistent week to week, I think, whereas Jurati is like, you're just rolling the dice.
Yeah.
She was like Tilly with the comic relief, I think, but not, just in terms of like her values. I think that her values are shifting. I think that what she thought she knew about synthetics and what she thought she knew about about this vision she saw from Commander O. I think that she's changing as she gets new information. So that could account for her behavior.
Yeah, no, I think that the thing that you're saying, Flobo, about Elmore is that he's consistent. There's occasional moments where he's used for a little bit of levity, but he's consistent. I think her character was indeed pretty erratic throughout, and it just got increasingly unlikable. Little bit of redeeming quality. I have to really think. I might actually like Raffi more than I like her. But
Whoa!
I think just the air is a little thin here in the back.
You're lightheaded, is that what it is?
Yeah, I forgot to bring some fresh air in here. So that's a little bit of a problem. So obviously the humans all band together against the synths when they realize like, oh, their plan is really bad. Dr. Soong, is able to see what actually happened, which I don't know. You'd figure spray tan Soji would be smart enough to be able to kind of delete some memory qualities from. Although I guess she didn't care is really what it came down to. I don't know. I liked seeing that. And somebody, a friend of mine, my friend Jason, texted me about this idea that like when an actor plays like the offspring or whatever of a previous character, like Brett Spiner does here, and how he just looks exactly like him. You're like, so there's like no DNA provided by the mother. You just look like him exactly. When we just look, that happens all the time and we always accept it. I just thought it was a funny point. It doesn't, I didn't think of it. Doesn't bother me. It is true though, that you're just like, yep. And now that's the son who is the same actor.
But it doesn't matter because Brent Spiner came back and that's all we wanted.
Nope. We got to see him as two roles. I would have liked to also have seen him as Lore just because I'd been calling for that all season. But
one guy is like Lore.
Nikki, when we look at Rios's ship and our friend Jean-Luc sits in the captain's chair.
Oh, come on.
How was that for you?
Come on. Last time he was in the chair, he couldn't even figure out how to turn it on. And then he's going to sit there and say, let's see how well I was watching Rios. Come on now. Come on. In that moment, I called him JL. That was a JL moment. That was not, it was just like, what? No.
Yeah. And I didn't like Girardi pandering and saying, make it so. I'm like, stop it. Mm-hmm. You are not, stop trying to be his sidekick. All right. That's Raffi's job. But and it was just like sometimes, I don't know, Frank, does fan service just hurt sometimes? Was that one of those moments?
Yeah, that as well. She's like, oh, you should come up with some kind of thing like a Picard move. Wait, you have something called after you. It's a Picard maneuver, right? Like, oh, got it, guys. Yeah. Thanks for taking let's tick all the Picard boxes here. Cool.
Yeah,
the Stargazer, and it was a long time ago.
Yeah, no, I mean, I liked his response, but Frank, the only thing that was missing was a reference to the Kobayashi Maru, which yes, I know that's James Tiberius Kirk, but just sort of like, I don't know. What are your thoughts, Flobo? Are we overly critical? Are you more accepting? Are you able to let Agnes and Jean-Luc being a JL, are you able to let those things into your heart easier than we are?
Yes and no. The scene was pretty cool because I was looking for a giant fight in space. I think that's what they were teasing for an episode and a half, and it was cool to see so many different proto fake ships. It was kind of awkward when she tested it on her face first. That was weird. But it's pretty cool to see that they're using their ingenuity to somehow combat and at least hold the line until Starfleet shows up. That said, the dialogue was kind of cheesy, being like, the Picard maneuver. Oh, wait, like Frank was saying, because I think by now it looks like it was common knowledge in space, right? How would you forget that? Either you would know it or you don't know it. And to Nikki's point, having someone just jump in a plane and somehow pilot it okay with a galactic brain aneurysm on the horizon, to me didn't track as well. But I will say, hey, look, you put the foundation down. I'm ready to ride the roller coaster. Let's see how this battle turns out. So I was okay with it, but there was some flaws in there.
Although I'm wondering, because I mean, equating by the 20th century, as well as somebody who served in Starfleet for this long the length of time that he has, I guess you could think maybe like at least a shuttlecraft, which is a little bit smaller than Rios's ship, but it's not quite the same size as anything you're going to see in the Federation. But piloting a starship could be equated to driving a vehicle. So I mean, certainly, I guess it's been 20 years. I'm still thinking even after 20 years, I could get into a car and drive. I think I could
90?
drive. I
You can drive a car at 90, Frank Moran. What are you doing?
But could you get into a car that suddenly had a screen appear with things that you moved? And last time...
If you're Jean-Luc Picard, yes, you can.
All right, I guess you can.
I
guess you can.
You're absolutely right, but I think that they assume we have the reverence for Jean-Luc that everyone on the show has. That we're like, yeah, but he can do anything. He can really do anything. Let's talk about the space battle. So we had the Picard maneuver, which is like whatever. But
whatever.
Yeah, we got to see the orchids again, but those orchids are kind of just for show, so it's like,
and
that's
also,
great.
What were they smoking in the writer's room that they came up with giant orchids?
Yeah, look, it's a great point.
I tried to finish this last week, but Nikki.
I know I wasn't here, but I had to just say what.
My theory was that, hey, look, it's kind of old trope to have like turrets ready to go. How about having an organic being? But you're right. It is very specific and unique to be like giant flowers. And we'll call them by their Earth names.
But, I mean, I go with you on that, Flobo, but then I would think, well, these aren't very effective because, I mean, I guess they catch everybody last episode unaware because they're not expecting this. So maybe you catch these few folks unaware. But when you've got a whole Romulan fleet that has just got their weapons hot and they just blow them away in orbit as they're still coming close to them, kind of shows you like how terrible of a defense mechanism these things really are.
Yeah, I think that they're designed in the way that you don't expect whatever it is, 218 Romulan warbirds to descend on you. You expect like a ship or two to occasionally come across your planet.
And also, orchids are notoriously difficult to care for.
They are too. They want hazard pay.
That is the most important point. Thank you, Nikki, for.
I just wanted to throw that out.
No, it's good. So we get a space battle with the Picard maneuver. My favorite part of it, at least until Starfleet shows up, is the fact that I don't know, General O or whatever rank she ends up having is she says ready planetary sterilization pattern number 5. So there are at least 4 others that they have. Like, we're gonna go with number 5 right now, and I'm just like, man, the Romulan, they're cold. They have that. They have.
It was Mambo number 5. It was Mambo numbers 1 through 4. We have no idea.
No, they just had different girls' names in Mambo number 3. It was a little bit of Annika with the Borg. That. I already regret saying that, but that's all right. So I don't know. I think that. I think we got to see some cool stuff, at least up until Starfleet shows up. But what did you all think? I'll ask you first, Flobo. The actual space battle sequences, all the elements to it up until the point that Starfleet arrives. What did you think?
I thought it was fine for what it was. A lot of it was filler because you kind of knew that they had so many more Romulan ships, and a lot of these projections of Picard ships were just that, were projections. So I kind of was disappointed. I thought we would at least see one of the Romulan ships break the atmosphere and see what that would look like. It's kind of a weird comparison, but it reminds me of the movie Black Panther when Killmonger has this whole plan of like sending ships out to distribute weapons, but you never see one get away. So you're kind of like, well, what are the stakes? What really is the damage that's going to happen? And that beacon, when it's all said and done, was such a minor part of this battle. I feel like there was an opportunity lost, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we only really get a glimpse of this other life form that basically it like peeks its head. It's like a Punxsutawney Phil. It's like, nope, I'm out. Nope, I'll see you in 6 weeks. What did you think of all the sequences leading up? We're saving the Starfleet part of the conversation for a separate thing. Nikki, what did you think?
I just felt it was all kind of anticlimactic. Like there wasn't a battle. They shot at some flowers. Like, I don't know. They shot at some flowers, and then there were some imaginary extra Rio ships, and then
but also like not for very long. It was like it was effective for, I don't know, 90 seconds, and then they fairly quickly shot the real ship, and then they all went away, and they're like, all right, good work, JL. Frank, I want to know what you think about all of that, but at what point do you think anybody in Starfleet took notice of, hey, where's Commodore O? We haven't seen her in a while.
It's she just left, and everybody's like, "Oh, I'm taking some vacation time."
Is she taking coronavirus leave? Where did she go? I don't think we sanctioned this. It's weird. Go ahead, Frank.
I felt like the setup before was anticlimactic. I agree with Nikki. The pacing of it was terrible. Because you could have, if they would have edited that a little tighter, I could have bought that Picard was able to stall them long enough, but they drug out the scene so much that I feel like there's no way. And not with 218 warbirds to however many replicas they made of Picard ship. You didn't need not all that firepower needed to be concentrated on that. You could have started working on the planet. So I just felt like the pacing of that scene, if it had been edited tighter, would have made me buy into it. And then it just got more undercut when Starfleet arrives.
And when Starfleet arrives, Nikki Bailey, I wonder, I think I might be the only one that my first thought was, oh, they make uniforms in Riker size? But I
Wow.
what?
No.
I'm just saying. I mean, I'm
gonna
guess
you, Kristen.
I know, that's why believe me, that's why I said it.
No.
I'm pretty sure he had sweatpants on. We only saw him from the waist.
He was seated. This is better.
No, but as great a moment as it was, as exciting as it was to see Will Riker, it's maybe a little far-fetched that he would go from retirement to immedially commanding the new, the pride of Starfleet. And that, the idea that Starfleet came around to Jean-Luc, that was established last week, when he spoke with the Admiral. That part I had to think about, and then I was like, oh, I did remember that. But when he showed up, I was so excited to see him. I kind of didn't think rationally. Nikki, is that where you were, or were you as critical in that moment as I'm being now, like 12 hours after watching it?
I was super excited to see him. I wanted him to say, acting captain, Will Riker of this Federation flagship USS Enterprise.
Yeah.
But whatever. Anyway, I was impressed that his hair looked better than the last time we saw him. And
he still had that David Letterman beard.
And he still had that sit, that thing he does where he, so it was it was a nice moment. And I also thought to myself, well, who knows? Maybe Riker has spent the last however many years becoming the next Jean-Luc. Like maybe he's so renowned in the Federation that all he had to do was make a phone call and then be made acting captain of the flagship.
Yeah, I mean, look, they did a decent job reminding us that, setting up those few episodes ago that he's, he's still active or inactive reserve duty, all that. But I don't know. It seemed like if he was training to be anybody, it was Chef Boyardee. What did you think, Flobo?
Okay, you gonna stop on these fat jokes. You gonna stop.
No, I actually meant because he was making. No, I meant because he was making pizza. He even mentioned, "What was I going to do? Stay home and make pizza."
Too late. Nikki's gonna kill you, bro. Let me just say,
you think I don't know a fat joke when I hear a fat joke?
But the first one about the top, that was a fat joke. Him being Chef Boyardee was just trying to pick a world-renowned Italian chef.
Christian Bladt, read the room, damn it. I gotta be honest with you, man. I even though Riker's scene was pretty small, this one and the episode about Nepenthe, I believe, makes me realize maybe there should be a spinoff about that guy. I'm so into his life and Troy and being the commander and being all like, let's do it, bro. I'm on board.
No, I would love to see more Jonathan Frakes, whatever. I mean, he just does. He seems to mostly direct, but
can I say this though? As someone who got into Star Trek very, very late, to me, he's always the beyond belief fact or fiction guy. Is that weird?
Oh, I forgot about that show. Yeah, there's a lot of memes from that show because they would do such weird things on it. Frank, what are your thoughts on the moment we see Riker, the fact that it's Riker, and the fact that we don't get the Enterprise?
I don't understand what the show was thinking then to not give us the Enterprise. You don't need to give us a big in-depth tour of the ship. But the fact that you're not even going to name check it, I don't understand why the show decided not to do that. Clearly Picard should have reached out to Riker much sooner because Riker was able to get things done much quicker than Jean-Luc was. He was getting shut down constantly throughout the season until the last episode. But I also felt like for the sake of narrative surprise to the audience, the show, in a sense, doesn't have people talk how they would really talk in real life. Where it's like, oh, what a surprise! Riker is on the flagship. Where when they were first having that meeting a couple episodes ago, Riker, why are we having that scene right now? Saying, hey, let me try to help you. Let me see what I can do here. They're not going to have that scene in there because they want to have it as a big reveal. Like, okay, that kind of bummed me out, as well as the goodbye exchange between Riker and Picard, because come on, that's not how you would end this conversation. Get out of here.
Yeah, not on like an open channel. It was like, I don't know. It was almost like they were. It was almost like Riker slid into his DMs. It's like, all right, this is a little personal, don't you think?
Well, but also but not personal enough either, because
that's fair.
Yeah, I'll see you later. Well, no, you won't, because I'm dying right now. But I'm not going to tell you.
Sorry, bro. Okay.
He did have a nice moment with Commodore / General / whatever you want to call. Be prepared to be escorted out of Federation space. That won't be necessary. And he's like, really? It's no trouble at all.
But also, we're just escorting them. The fact that are we going to be dealing with the repercussions of they're the ones that were behind the assault of Mars? So it's just going to be an escort. That's it. We're just going to escort you guys.
Well, Picard did say earlier that the Romulans would be held responsible by the Federation at some point when he was trying to convince Soji.
At some point, after we escort him out.
Yeah, yeah, but I think that you feel like there should be more repercussions for the Romulans, and particularly those who infiltrated Starfleet. You know what I mean? Like, so, and I don't know, maybe seeing the Enterprise, maybe that's all stuff where it's on their dry erase board for season 2. The fact that Narek is still alive, that the only reason that you do that is because you're like, well, we're going to make them regret letting him stick around, I guess.
I feel like the only reason they may have done it is because the first season of Discovery ends with the old school Enterprise winding up, and then we don't see it for the majority of the season.
Yeah.
So maybe they felt like, are we repeating ourselves by having the Enterprise show up right at
But
the
you
last
know
second?
what? All of the fan service that they have done, and the one thing any of us would really, really want is to see the Enterprise. Like we said it from the first episode. That's the one thing we really wanted.
Well, that
what a waste.
At least I don't know. At least they left something on the table for season 2. Let's talk about Jean-Luc's death scene. Was it moving at all for you, Frank Moran, with your hollow insides? And I believe that you have no heart. No, but did you feel anything, or just knowing that there was a season 2, you're just like, yeah, somehow this is gonna be undone?
Well, I mean, we knew that golem was in there, so I knew that at some point his mind was going to end up in that body. So, I mean, because of Patrick Stewart's acting and he is that character, you're going to feel some tugging at the heartstrings, just because of the acting of that scene. But I also know it's like, but this is not really an ending it's not his death. He's going to continue on. So, yeah, 50-50 on that.
Flobo, did you shed a tear for the passing of JL?
I did. I know season 2 was announced and there was going to be Picard on the marquee, but I always go back to that British crime show Taggart, where the guy died in like season 7 and like on season 35. I felt like if we're going to do the whole consciousness thing, which would be the second choice, why would you put it in a body that's closely resembling JL right now? I thought it'd be a good chance to have someone else. But I understand, Patrick Stewart is that guy. He's a national treasure. So yeah, we're gonna get the body looks the same way.
They could have made it like Picard Doctor Who. Like, so now that like Picard would go into a new body.
That's what I thought was gonna happen. Trouble with triples and all that. But yeah, we got the same body.
So he could have gone from Patrick Stewart to being Patrick Troughton. I think that would have actually been very interesting there. A little shout out. What's up? Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, go ahead, Frank.
I would think that the whole reason that why they even did the Picard death angle, and I feel like it was the only reason they did it is because they wanted to have that scene in the quantum simulation with Data and Picard, and that is the only way they can think of making that really happen. So they needed to have him die, so in a consciousness in an android body, he could be able to have that conversation. But I'm also thinking you could figure out some way for Picard as a human being still to communicate with that consciousness. He doesn't have to go. I mean, I would think that rather than do this contrived thing that they did with Picard.
Especially since you have magic knuckle machines, you could have been able to. Yeah, I agree. I did not cry or I didn't have any sadness at the Picard dying scene because I knew there was a season 2. And when they first talked about the golem, I was like, I don't know. Picard's dying. They're creating a golem.
Yeah, I know.
He already has a brain thing that's left over from the Borg situation. I just knew. So I was like, they could have just skipped all that.
Well, Nikki, did you feel any differently about our friend Lieutenant Commander Data?
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God, that was when Data came in and they sat, and then when he said the thing about there's a small what was it, like the percentage of my memory that let me know that you love me? Yeah.
Whatever.
Oh, stop it, Flobo. I like the matter of fact way he's like, are you also wearing the clothes that you had on when you died? It was just such a matter of fact of like, oh yeah, he is wearing a very specific Starfleet uniform from 15 years ago.
Yeah.
What I like to call the Deep Space Nine. But what did you think, Flobo? I mean, I know, again, newer to Star Trek, but you've seen a lot of episodes of Next Generation. You've gotten to know Mr. Data.
Mr. Data. I would say this, even though the death itself didn't affect me, because I just watched that scene recently. 2 things. One, I felt the makeup on Data was better this time around than the first episode. And 2, it adds the gravitas that scene needs, because we know Picard has this brain issue, and he's an advanced age. If he were to die and that was it, he'd get like cremated, it'd been one thing. But having him really talk about the essence of love and going for it, and you shouldn't regret it or shouldn't blame yourself for someone's passing, I think really put the button on the show to make it worth watching again, you know? So it's fine. I like it.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. The makeup was much better. I guess because the first one was literally a dream, maybe they felt like they could kind of get away with it looking a little weird. I don't know. I felt like it looked a lot better. Look, from the time we saw the trailer, all we really wanted was to see more Picard and Data. Were you able to enjoy those moments, Frank?
I enjoyed it. I thought also it was a really crappy quantum simulation. So like that's where Data, either he programmed that himself or the Son of Soong programmed that. Like, this is what Data would like. Really, this drab gray kind of quasi-logish cabin, maybe? Like, ugh, really? Okay. But it was great to see those two characters interact. It was great to see some closure, a better farewell between those two characters than we got in Nemesis. So for that, I was thankful for that. But then there's also part of me when he said, I want you to take my consciousness offline. Like, ooh, this really took like a euthanasia route that I was not expecting. Yeah. Okay. So that was kind of odd. But then I was like, all right, well, I can understand what somebody who was wanting to have the full human experience. I could see that. But I don't know if I needed the extra step at the end of Data aging. Like, okay.
That was I loved that. I loved that. That actually made me tear up a little bit. I was like, because it was like, this is what he's always wanted, was to be human, and the most human thing would be to get old and die. And it was sorry, but it was much. It really was much needed closure. I always felt like we had been cheated, and so I didn't cry the way I thought I would, but it was lovely. To just for them to have that interaction.
Well, for sure, for anybody you've ever lost in your life in a unexpected or untimely fashion, I think everybody can relate to that chance to having another opportunity after that to really say a proper farewell to that person that's meant so much to you. So, and that really resonated with me.
Well, not only do we say goodbye to Data, we sort of start to wrap things up with the rest of the cast. In a montage sequence that this is where we got to see Rios and Agnes, and I'm like, ugh. I mean,
that was terrible. The fact that, I mean, it's one steady shot, so we see them smooch. I'm like, okay, we'll just forget that you're supposed to be taken off to Starbase 12. Then it pans down to we see all of a sudden Rafi and 7 of 9 in a relationship. When did that happen?
Yeah, that's just more like how did they like where does that come from? The fact that it's there, that's great. But it's almost like you didn't even come close to earning that moment, making us believe that they even talked. You know what I mean?
That was just that to me. That was geek porn. That was like for all of the young geek boys who, I'm just saying, Flobo, I know this from experience. The boys that I grew up with who watched sci-fi had all kinds of fantasies about 7 of 9, and I was like, so okay, so they finally got a little like, oh, they got a little something to add to their fantasy, you know, about her.
Flobo, what did you think about the, I'm using air quotes, heartfelt montage there at the end?
I think it made sense if, you know, the idea of what mortality is, and they basically fought together and with the varying results here. But I was actually on board with Rafi and 7 and 9, not because I'm a teenage boy, but rather because both of them are connected to the story about Jean-Luc Picard and being almost conscripted in their own backwards way. Rafi with her kid, 7 and 9 with her own mission, and somehow it became this tangential thing where they were both had to be pillars of strength with everyone in the crew. So that locking hands, I assume they haven't done it yet. I think it was them saying, hey, look, we made it together. And to me, I thought it was a pretty good moment. But yeah, I guess to me, like having Picard die and having bring him back just right then and there, well, just has this cloud over the whole thing, kind of cheapens the actual event. But yeah, the montage itself was great.
Well, I mean, I guess it does have to be a little heavy-handed, no pun intended, but because it's like you have 2 seconds to show, like, and maybe there's something here. What do you think? Do you want to see that in season 2? Huh? But it's kind of the way I just said it is exactly how it felt. But I mean, it was fine. And then we had that the Nothing But Blue Skies song was playing, and I talked about this on Discovery, something about like when music that is contemporary from our time gets used in the future. Like it was the worst on Discovery when they were playing Staying Alive from Saturday Night Fever. I'm like, just how is that happening? So this wasn't as jarring as that. But probably for me, my least favorite moment was just the sort of very matter of fact. It was almost like the end of G.I. Joe, like, and now and knowing's half the battle. And it's like, well, now that they've lifted the ban on synthetics, so am I. It was like, all right. So clearly that was a note somewhere of like, hey, what happened to the ban on synthetics? Jean-Luc synthetic now. Oh yeah, don't worry. Ban lifted. I don't know. And look, it's very, look, we're here to sort of analyze and maybe overanalyze all of this. I actually liked this show. I didn't love the show because of the pacing. I thought it told a good story. Jean-Luc Picard comes back into my life after all this time. I wanted a great story. And I don't feel like we got that, but I felt like we got a very good show. We had some interesting characters and Raffi. But we got to meet a lot. I just said that for Flobo. We got to see some friends, but season 2, I better see Geordi. If there's no Geordi in season 2, there's going to be a problem. But in general, I was very glad that they did this show. If for some reason maybe they decide that they're not going to make another season, it'll be okay, because I felt like, all right, I don't know that we needed any of it, but it was kind of fun. And the fact that it ended on an engage, we'll set up our segment in a moment, but just sort of take a minute each. Overall thoughts on what this season was, Nikki.
I feel really grateful that we got it, that we got to spend 10 episodes with Jean-Luc Picard back on television. It wasn't what I had hoped it would be, and I'm a little disappointed by that. However, I am ride or die Star Trek fan, except Enterprise. I could not with Enterprise, but so I'm gonna watch the next season. I'm gonna look forward to it. I would literally watch Patrick Stewart read the phone book. He is currently reading a sonnet a day, right. Shakespearean sonnet a day on Twitter. So anything Patrick Stewart does, I'm gonna be there for, and especially if it's Star Trek. So I'm happy we had it. I'm looking forward to the next season.
Yeah, and by the way, also thanks to Patrick Stewart. If you, the audience, have enjoyed Picard, you should let friends, family, whoever will listen, know that all the episodes are actually available for free for about a month, thanks to Jean-Luc himself, Patrick Stewart, at Sir Pat Stew. Why not? Give him a shout out. You can thank him. So people can watch it for free, which, the people who subscribe just so that they could watch Picard are probably like, hey, what are you doing? Giving away for free? Am I getting
my money back?
Yeah.
Right.
Flobo, overall thoughts on this season that was season 1 of Star Trek Picard?
Sure, but before I answer that question, Frank, I'm just curious, what is your least favorite Star Trek series? I know Nikki doesn't like Enterprise and Christian doesn't like Voyager. What's your least favorite?
I guess I would put it as Enterprise, and that's significantly contributed to the final episode, which was a garbage episode.
Just curious. So
even the inclusion, I know, even the inexplicable inclusion of Will Riker, it was just like, yeah, I agree. Anyway, sorry, Flobo.
I gotta say this, Star Trek Discovery was really amazing for me. Being in my hotel room in Italy and coming across it by accident on Netflix, seeing space and strong characters and diverse cast, taking the day and all these, all this technology, it was great. I was on board. I thought finally here was this fandom called Star Trek where it wasn't accessible to me because I felt that it was too far gone, and Discovery was the on-ramp to that. So I guess that's a gold standard for me. Picard was okay. I liked it when it was. It was cool to bring a character that everyone loves so much and to be part of that discussion online. But I gotta be honest with you, I watched Picard season 1. I'm okay. I don't want to go back. I'm ready for season 2. Rewatchability is pretty much close to 0, but I do enjoy Rios. I did enjoy Rafi a lot. I did enjoy them going to do something very noble for the cause. Overall, I would recommend it to Star Trek fans, but I personally wouldn't watch it again.
Yeah, I mean, except you would go back just to watch Jean-Luc in the eye patch. I mean, let's be honest. We would all go just to see that. Yeah, look, I'll say that I enjoyed both seasons of Discovery far more than this one season of Picard, and that show's definitely got some things that are problematic about it. Frank Moran, before we get to our special segment, your overall thoughts on season 1 of Star Trek Picard.
I mean, I guess as of right now in my life, there's, even bad Star Trek is Star Trek. So I'm happy to have any new stuff in there. I feel like this season was a letdown in terms of the pacing and the decompression, as Flobo mentioned earlier. But I also felt like just the character development was sorely lacking with everybody that wasn't Patrick Stewart. I mean, it's already a hard task when you are doing a show based around Picard. Everybody's going to want to see all the former Enterprise crewmates as well. And they've got that rich history that they brought through the series as well as the films. I felt like the things that resonated in the series are when we get Riker, Troy, and 7 of 9, because there's that long association, those characters that are developed through those years, that we get excited to see those interactions with Picard. Even more so with 7 or 9, because two characters never really saw interact at all until this series. But still, that long, deep well of Star Trek history for both those characters. I think the writing for the new characters, it suffered in giving me any sort of connection to Picard. And so by the end of it, when they want you to get these emotional moments, they hadn't developed these characters enough for me to care about them. I think that you can write characters that I could have been engaged with by the end of the season and cared about how Picard's quote unquote first death affected them. But I just felt like the show just kind of let us down in that respect. It felt very similar to season 1 of Discovery, where the characters other than Burnham were so woefully underdeveloped that we knew nobody else on this crew. And even the second season, while doing some attempts at trying to address that, still failed overall to get me really hunkered down, because all you cared about was Spock and Burnham. So for this, I mean, I was glad to see it, but the characters, they need to make me heavily invested in them in a season 2 if I'm going to care about them going forward.
Yeah, hard to disagree with a lot of that. I mean, that's definitely kind of the overall filming. Well, you did mention, whether or not it was engaging, and it was the final word of the episode, engage. So it is time for our special segment, Engaging Moments. I'm going to go first. Jean-Luc says to Data, "You don't remember your death. I can't forget it." Well played, JL. Well played. Flobo?
I gotta say, man, the thing that got me most hype was seeing Riker. The entire scene was pretty cool. I love the fact he commanded his ship and to be able to say, hey, look, you know what? We will escort you out. It's no trouble at all. That was my moment for sure.
Can't argue with that. It was actually a lot of fun. Just some logic behind it, maybe. But it was fun to watch. And Nikki?
Logic.
I had a couple of things where I felt like Jean-Luc said some things that were very Star Trek-y. To say you have no choice is a failure of imagination. And then when he said, fear is an incompetent teacher. They have life, but no one is teaching them what it's for. To be alive is a responsibility as well as a right.
Somebody should have told that to those kids who went to spring break 2 weekends ago.
Oh,
when the rest of us are, living, doing body shots on the beach in Florida. Yeah, they need some Jean-Luc in their life. And Frank Moran, what was your engaging moment?
I'll just say Soong using the like the super small pocket EMP on Golgi just to knock her out. And I was like, oh, all right, good times. That was way to really neutralize this threat. That was it. It was like,
yeah, I know. It was almost like a gust of wind. Oh, and she's out. Yeah, she was kind of the insurrection, to use the title of a disappointing Star Trek film. She was the they snuffed out the insurrection. Well, that has been an extended version, thanks to Ryan in the booth or in mission control, wherever he is, for giving us a little extra time there to tidy up the show. We'll happily return for season 2 of Star Trek Picard, but that's not something that is going in front of cameras anytime soon. My understanding is it is written, but we'll see when that happens. And the impression we have right now is that Discovery isn't going to be able to be 100% finished. I think I don't know if they still needed to film anything.
We're seeing ads though, so
we're seeing ads for it, but
hopefully-
I think that they don't have the whole season finished. So, if this sort of existence drags on for a little while, maybe they break it up into 2 parts. I hope we see it soon, because that would mean that you would see the 4 of us again. I always enjoy chatting with everyone. Also, special thanks throughout the season to Rachel Goodman and Angelica A. Trey, who both sat in a few different times. Always great to have everyone talking about it. But if you want to keep in touch with us, Nikki Bailey, how do they do that?
Oh, they can find me on the social medias at Nikki Bailey _.
And Frank Moran, everyone wants to keep in touch with you. Don't be modest. Sure. How do they do it?
Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at HappyGoJackie. And real quick, in terms of news, Michael Chabon did an interview where he said his initial idea for the show was Picard on his vineyard with his dog solving a mystery. But he said, no, that doesn't sound very Star Trek. Nobody's going to buy that. I would have bought that.
I would have bought that.
I would not.
There was not enough number 1 on this show.
That was true. When number 1 disappeared, he was on the poster
of the dog. And I know we've already gone over, but Frank, are you able to do that box office breakdown show when there's no movie theaters open?
No, we're on a hiatus.
Okay,
so
that's kind of what I figured.
2022, everybody.
I wish you weren't right. Flobo, if somebody out there decides, God, if only I knew where I could go to get new content every week, where would they go?
Yeah, I have a lot of things for you. You can follow me on Twitter at Flobo Boyce, on Instagram at Flobito. I have a t-shirt shop at flobito.threadless.com and a Patreon, patreon.com/Flobo Boyce. But the new content every week is happening exclusively at flobito.com. New content every week. Thank you so much for tuning in this season of Star Trek Picard.
Thank you. Thank you to all. If you want to keep in touch with me, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. Thursdays, you can still find me at, let's see, it's 11:10 a.m. Pacific time over on the Popcorn Talk for Marvel movie news. And my personal podcast, Blackcast, BLADTCAST. I've done some fun videos where I've opened some of these boxes behind me and looked at some comics. So find me there. Thank you so much. Thanks again to Ryan in the booth. And as always, live long and prosper.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.